Hi, everybody. I'm Melinda Emerson, the small biz lady, America's #1 small business expert. And I'm so excited to welcome you to a special edition of Small Biz Chat Live. Yes, it is National Small Business Week. So, you know, the small biz lady had to do something special for you. So, we have an amazing show in store for you today. We're going to be talking about lots of things that are relevant to your business right now. First and foremost, we're going to be talking about what you need to know if you want to attract investors into your small business. And if you may not know this, but actually taking care of yourself can be good for your business. And we're going to talk to an expert who's written a book all about that. And have you ever wondered how you could get more local press where you live in your town? Well, I have an expert here who's going to talk to us about what you got to do to pitch yourself to be relevant to your local media. Now, if you're looking for a way to grow your business, it is hard to do it without cash. So, we're going to talk to an expert who is an angel investor. She's going to talk to you about what it takes to get the attention of angel investors and where you might be able to find one in your local community. And how about we all could benefit from getting more rest? Well, guess what? Your business can benefit from you getting more rest too. So, we're going to talk with the author of the new book, The Sabbatical Method. And lastly, all of us need to know how to get more visibility in our businesses. And we're going to talk with an expert who's going to talk about how we can leverage online and offline channels to get media anytime we want to in our local markets. Now, here on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we always talk about how to start and how to grow. And we get it from several different perspectives, because our mission is to end small business failure. So we consider the Small Biz Chat podcast a peer-to-peer mentoring show where you can get advice you otherwise would have to pay lots of money for. Now, you can watch the Small Biz Chat podcast on my Small Biz Lady YouTube channel or my Small Biz Lady Facebook page. And if you're there, please leave us a comment, leave us a smiley face. If there's a topic that you want us to address on a future show, I want to invite you to leave that in the comments section as well. But certainly, if you hear something brilliant from one of our guests, do give them a shout out, give them a tweet. You know how to do it. All right, now it is time for me to introduce my guest for today's show. And my first guest is angel investor Lisha Bell, Operations Strategist Alyson Caffrey, and she's the author of the new book, The Sabbatical Method, and Mickie Kennedy. He is the CEO of eReleases. And so I am very, very excited to get started. So now let me introduce Lisha Bell. She is the co-founder of BLXVC. It's an angel syndicate of moms funding Black and Brown founders. She's also the host of the Sisters with Ventures podcast, which aims to tell the stories of women in venture capital. Bell is also the prior deal flow lead for Pipeline Angels, an angel group of impact investors focused on women and femmes to build a $7 million portfolio. Lisha also serves as the board chair for Black Girl Ventures, and in her day job, she is the economic opportunity manager at PayPal. For more information on her, head over to lishabell.com. Lisha, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, you have so many jobs, girl. You need some rest, I think. But listen, so let's just jump into it. Tell me about your background and how your day job kind of led you to this angel investor world that you've become such a leader in.
Yeah, so I'm a tech girl through and through. I moved to Silicon Valley right after undergrad education to be in the dot-com, dot-bust movement. And I spent most of my career in fintech, working on payments like Apple Pay, Google Pay, Bill Pay. We didn't have online banking just like 25 years ago. So think about that. And so I realized working in this valley that there's this thing called venture capital, and there's some companies that get funded and some that don't. And so I realized that from my money in tech, I could be a accredited investor. I hadn't made enough money to write my own checks and be qualified. So I started getting into this venture capital world because I wanted to invest people who looked like me and represent ideas that I really cared about, and I didn't really see that happening.
I love it. I love it. So tell us about your syndicate that you've created, BLXVC. Tell me about that.
Yeah, and so essentially, we represent women of color who are building businesses. And more importantly, our cap table is women of color and people of color who want to write checks to that community. And so the problem with venture capital in general, it's ran by 99% white men with wealth. And so it's really hard to get checks if you are not in that contingent or didn't go to Ivy League school. There's a lot of gatekeeping that happens in the industry. And so what we aim to do is to really transform who writes the checks and who gets capital and venture capital. So that's what we focus on.
Now, tell me how your Sisters with Venture podcast came about. I know about it because I remember when you first started it, but tell
Yeah.
the world about how you started the other SWV, right? So
The
tell us.
other SWB. Hey, and you guys should check out Melinda's episode. She was so gracious to come on the show. But essentially, there's all these phenomenal women that are building enterprises that no one talks about and people don't know about. When you think of venture capital, you probably know Elon Musk. There's probably a group, PayPal Mafia, right? There's probably a group of people who are very notorious in this industry. And I'm like, there are regular, everyday people writing checks and nobody's talking to, that nobody knows about. And so I really wanted to amplify those stories and really provide inspiration for us to get more people to write checks in venture capital. 0.05% of women write checks in a VC. And so we have an opportunity to grow that number and provide more capital for more business ideas we care about. We don't need any more dating apps, like we need things that really going to change the world.
Right, we need to solve some real problems,
Real
right?
problems, yeah.
So talk to me about what does it take to be an accredited investor? Because I think there's
Yeah.
probably a lot more people who are qualified to be an accredited investor than think they are.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. You don't get like an alert from the IRS that says, hey, guess what? We made enough money this year. So the SEC has really strict guidelines around accredited investor. You have to have 1 million in net worth or have earned income of 200,000 if you're single or 300,000 if you're coupled. And so this benchmark is less than 2% of America in terms of wealth. So it's a pretty high bar, but many of you may have many jobs in many ways that you qualify through your real estate portfolio and other assets, and you should just take a look and see if you are qualified because it's a great opportunity to add to your portfolio.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, I think there's a lot of people that qualify for that. I mean, there's a lot of, let me say, there's a lot of business owners that qualify for that.
Absolutely.
I think W-2 folk, it might be a little tougher, but even a lot of them, you've been working at a company a long time, you've been taking the stock options, you could do it too. So let's talk about what does it take? What are you typically looking for when you're evaluating a potential business that you're considering investing in? What are you, what tickles your fancy? What are you looking for?
Yeah, number one is all about the team. Like VC is a human business. Like, is this the founder that can execute? The idea can be great. People come up with great ideas every day, right? It's like, can you actually execute? Are you the person the most qualified to do that? And do you care enough about whatever you're building to stay in it? Because as everybody knows, entrepreneurship is extremely difficult of a path to take, right? The other thing is this an idea that has an addressable market? I.e., can we make money? Can we profit? Right? Like, we're not philanthropists. We want our money back with a return of 5 or 10x. And so we want to make sure that you are attracting a market that it's a real problem that we need to solve. And there's some mechanics behind it that will make it sticky. And I think the third thing is around because of impact investors, like, is this going to change the world in a meaningful way? Is there going to be a significant outcome that's really going to be impactful in people's everyday lives? So I focus on financial inclusion. Is this something that's going to expand the pie for everybody? So that's my lens because I really care about the impact that we're making.
I love it. I love it. So, all right. So there's a difference between angel investors and venture capitalists, right? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, it's like my night job versus my day job, right? So essentially, angel investors write small checks, and small can be between $5,000 $25,000 checks. And they're really what we call like friends and family first in money. So when you're early stage company, we call it seed or pre-seed. You're raising, under $1 million typically. But once you become, revenue generating, you're headed to Series A, B, C, D, et cetera, you're going to need a lot more money. And that's what we call institutional capital. So that's essentially where venture capital steps in. So you'll get a firm like a PayPal Ventures who's writing a couple of $1 million checks. So it's really the scale and level. And at that point, angels are kicked out. So angels only come in early. And after that, you got to upgrade to the big money to take on the rounds and keep funding those companies.
Okay. So, but is the is the deal harsher though? Like, is it like it like I've always thought about angel investors as being like sort of like the kinder, gentler way to get investment, and venture capital being like
Oh,
a pimp ho relationship. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to understand, in your mind, how you view it differently.
yeah. Your angels are typically your friends. They're people who actually really care about your business and care about you the most. And they take the most risk, right? And so venture capitalists come in after the company's been de-risked. So it's like, oh, it's making money. Great. It's doing all the things because you come in later. And so the angels get rewarded for being angels and caring. But once you hand it over to venture, that's when CEOs get fired. Think about Steve Jobs and Apple. Like that's VC. Like you get kicked out of your own companies. Your co-founders get fired. Like a lot of things can happen once you hand it over because you essentially are losing equity, taking ownership of your company the more you fundraise. And so you do have to be critical if you're a founder about who you're allowing on your cap table because you're giving that person more control. And it doesn't mean that they don't love you, but they're focused on the best interest of the company, which may or may not include you. So keep that.
Listen, I'm glad you explained it like that, but I had a friend get removed from their company, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Now, what are the common mistakes that entrepreneurs make when they seek investment funding?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion on what type of funding is right for an entrepreneur, right? Because there's small business loans, there's VC, there's so much. And I think you got to know what kind of business you're building and what is the best capital path. And personally, if you want to give up ownership, if you're like, this is going to be a great small business for me and my family for decades to come, don't give your money, don't give out equity of your company. And you're making money, you're great. Do that. Like, that's good. That works too. I think some people are lured into venture capital because we call it free money. It's like money you don't have to pay back when you fail. And if you take a business bank loan, you have to pay that money back, regardless of if that business makes it or not. But with that, you're giving up a lot. And so I think entrepreneurs have to know what type of company they are building. If they're trying to scale a company, in a year and be a big tech ecosystem, Twitter or something like that's going to take a lot of money. Like you can't do that by yourself, right? Like it's gonna take a whole team. But like I got a great cleaner's shop that's a mom and pop business that's really profitable. We got the equipment, we took out a loan and we paid it back. Do that. So I think you have to know really where you fit in.
Okay. What about what people sometimes I feel like people value their business too low, and then I think there's some people out here that value their business too high. So how often
Uh,
do you see that kind of stuff?
yeah, I mean, let's face it, the white guys always overvalue their business, right? They're very prideful about what they're building. And then you see marginalized groups and women devalue their business. Like that's what we see a lot. And so investors are always skeptical of any valuation. Don't take it personal, but we're always trying to figure out, is this really what you think it is? Because founders are sometimes delusional, or sometimes they believe that they're the best thing, and you're like, well, many investors have seen the same pitch like 35 times. You're just a different flavor of the same pitch, right? um, and so, investors are a little more critical because they have more experience in that. So I tell founders like, you believe what you believe, but just be open that someone else believe might be a little different and there may be adjustments. And so you see the venture markets where there's these evaluations, devaluations. based on, how the money is flowing. So sometimes the founders market, sometimes the investors market, kind of like real estate. And you got to get in where you get in.
Thank you for that. All right. So last question before we go to the break. How do you find an angel investor? I mean, is it just like, let me call my peeps that I went to college with, like how do you kind of survey who,
Yeah.
where to
Well,
find angel investors?
they're probably hiding under a rock and not wanting to be found. I mean, that's the thing about it. There's people who flaunt their wealth, but mostly people rich don't flaunt their wealth. So you kind of have to know where the money is at. And so think about groups that attract affluent people. I joke, but it's like the country clubs. It's the people who have discretionary spend, the philanthropic people who give a lot of money to institutions, right? Like they all have friends, right? And you probably do have some friends and family who are accredited, just don't know it, right? Like your business is doing great. I saw that you guys have a nice home. I mean, don't say that, but if they have $1 million house, then you know that they're an accredited investor. I mean, that's one easy way to qualify in your mind, not out loud. Right? And there's also, crowdfunding, which you don't have to be accredited to do. So I tell people like, anybody can give $100, like maybe you have to start there before you get to like venture cap angel investors, right? Who are writing larger checks to validate your idea. So I tell people like play where you can play, but you definitely will have to like, I love LinkedIn. It's my favorite jam. Like work LinkedIn. That's where the accredited investors are. They're on LinkedIn. Like you see what they do, and that'll tell you. But yeah, it's definitely a relationship kind of business. And so if you're an introvert, you probably need to have a co-founder that's an extrovert because you do have to talk to people, to get into their pocketbooks.
I love it. I love it. All right. When we come back on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we're going to be talking more with Lisha Bell about how to get angel investors. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we will be right back. Hey y'all, I'm launching my very first private online community for women entrepreneurs. We're calling it SmallBizLadyAcademy.com. And listen, we're going to be providing how-tos, video training, live coaching, webinars. We're going to do monthly member roundtables, and you're going to get an amazing resource library of all of my favorite ebooks and templates. So listen, whether you're ready to start or you're trying to grow your business so you can sell it one day, we're going to have exclusive content just for you. And all of our content is going to be available in English and Spanish. So I want you to jump on it today because we got a founder rate out here. It's going to be your rate for life. So all you have to do is head over to SmallBizLadyAcademy.com, where we're empowering women entrepreneurs with knowledge, community, and access. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host. And we're talking with Lisha Bell about how to get angel investors. All right, Lisha, I want to jump back into this with you. Tell me, how do I effectively pitch? Let's say I realize my brother is an accredited investor. Okay, so how do I go about getting my pitch together to hit him up for the cash? How do I do that?
Yeah, so you need to be able to summarize your business in like 2 minutes. So think about simple, everyday, plain language that people can relate to and make sense. One company is like, I'm the hair Airbnb, or I'm this Uber, or if there's a business model that you're similar to that kind of helps people understand or get it fast. I think you have to tell people why you're qualified, especially for friends and family who've known you most of your life. If you've never done anything like this or don't have any professional experience, it's going to take a lot of persuasion or convincing. I think the other thing is that you have to show people that you're already doing the work, whether that's social validation, whether that's your business traction you've already done. Like you have to have proof. That's really important for your pitch. And you have to put it in writing. You have to write it down. People love looking at pitch decks and sending that over, letting people preview on their own terms, get back to your comments, putting them on your email list. Say, hey, I just want to keep you update my business. That's a great way to passively pitch people all the time about what you're doing. So I say use those methods to like get the word out so that it's a warm touch situation when you have to actually pitch.
Now, what kind of due diligence processes do angel investors do?
Yeah, so I joke, I said, this is not HR. We look into everything. We're searching your Google, your social media, anybody who knows you, referrals, of course, the things that you provide. Just know the things that you're not providing that we're also looking at too, right? Of course, we're looking at your financials and your business objective and goals, but just know we're talking to real people who know you, have done business with you in the past, to make sure that you are a solid, viable investment.
All right, last question. What's the best business advice you've ever gotten?
Oh, okay. Do what you love. You know, I think that's just simple and easy.
I like it. I like it. Thank you so much, Lisha. You have imparted us with some amazing, really good gems. And I know that my audience is going to super appreciate it. All right, when we come right back, we're going to be talking about how rest could be your secret weapon to grow your business. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we'll be right back. Are you ready to turn your dreams of entrepreneurship into a reality? Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and I want to invite you to check out smallbizladyacademy.com. We're here to help you every step of the way with our comprehensive training programs and expert resources. You'll learn how to start and grow a successful business that aligns with your passions and your goals. From business systems to sales strategies, we cover it all. Plus, our supportive community of fellow women business owners is here to cheer you on and provide guidance when you need it. Don't wait any longer to pursue your dreams. Join smallbizladyacademy.com today. We build businesses, and we help you build the life you've always wanted. Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host. And if you're watching us live on YouTube, please subscribe to this channel and share a comment if you hear something brilliant that's going to change your business. Also, if you're watching us on Facebook, please share and like us so that more people find out about this great information and resource that you have. All right, now it's time for me to introduce my guest, Alyson Caffrey. She's a small business operations strategist and the best-selling author and founder of the Operations Agency. She's best known for helping streamline brands. She's best known for helping streamline brands back-end operation and using her Operations Simplified framework to unleash the power of small teams. Alyson is committed to using her experience growing businesses and streamlining operations to help parentpreneurs kid-proof their businesses and live family-focused lives. She's also the author of the new book, The Sabbatical Method, and she's here to tell us all about it. For more information, head over to operationsagency.com. Alyson, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Melinda, I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's always honestly humbling still to see someone who holds the book up. I just can't believe it.
Well, as someone who's written a book or two, I get it. You do get excited. So tell us your backstory. How in the world did you become an operations strategist?
Yeah, so I actually always say I'm a little bit of an accidental entrepreneur. I was super, super great at organizing things behind the scenes, making businesses feel a little bit more efficient, and kind of being, I always said, the sweaty generalist behind the scenes. I was just the gal that could come behind the scenes and get things done. And so when I started working for myself, it was kind of accidental. Folks were like, can you please help me just understand all the moving pieces of projects and paying people on time and finding new talent and all the unsexy stuff behind the scenes of the company. And so I actually sent my very first invoice while I was studying for LSAT courses. I had no intention of becoming a business owner. And then all of a sudden, here I was leading folks through some of the most, hectic growth seasons of their business. And I was like, maybe I have a knack for this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me, what inspired you to explore the relationship between rest and business growth?
Yeah, so this is a tough one. There have been several different experiences that I've had over working with companies side by side over the last 7 years. So the first really big jarring one was the birth of my first son, Frank. And I was about 3 years into running operations agency and became a mom. And if anybody listening is currently a mom and running their own company, you have to say goodbye to your first baby being your business, and you need to upgrade it. You need to find great, capable people who can be with it, who can take care of it, make sure that your clients are totally taken care of. And that was my first really, really solid brush with understanding that actually my business could function a lot better if I wasn't always in the way. There were great people with wonderful ideas, leaders in my organization that rose up through that experience. The second really, really big experience that I had was I was approached by a client in late 2021 who had suffered a ton of physical health issues. And it wasn't because she was, completely it wasn't just a complete shock to her. It was because over time, she had spent more time focused on her business than she did her own personal health. She had advanced lipidemia, and her doctor told her that if she didn't lie down to pump her lymphatic system every 4 hours or so, she actually would end up being hospitalized. So she came to me in a dire moment of need and said, "Allie, I have to take a sabbatical from my business, and I don't know what I'm going to do." She was an executive coach. Her speaking was really her big bread and butter. So she really needed to be physically there in her business. And we worked together to create an excellent plan for her, and her business ended up better because of it. Her relationship with her team ended up better because of it. And it really inspired me to consider that if you have incredible operations behind the scenes, people that feel nurtured and they understand what their contribution is, it's actually really common that the founder isn't totally necessary inside of the business. And we don't have to burn the candle at both ends in the middle and continue down that path of hustling and growth. It's not actually going to get us to the next stage of, business development that we want. And so I had so many different experiences with this. And I do know, and I practice this for myself now, because, business owners, it's so hard to step out of your own way and take time off of your business. And I found that some of the best business owners that stay in business the longest have this really figured out. They prioritize their rest, they prioritize time to lead, and create a vision for what's next for the company.
So tell us, what is the sabbatical method?
Yeah, so I like to think I redefined the term sabbatical a little bit. So, sabbatical is a cadence of rest. And whether you are overdue and you really need a hard stop and you need to kind of really just take a break from your business, or if you just need to implement rest more consistently, something like closing your computer at 5 p.m., or dare I say, taking the full weekend off without checking your email, we can kind of shrink the sabbatical method or expand it to the level that we want. I've seen folks take 3 months off from the business and go hiking. I've seen and prepared moms take maternity leaves from their business and actually spend some time at home with their families. I'm actually currently running a cohort for a go slow summer with our kiddos so we can go to the beach and do all the things. So sabbatical can actually be defined however it is necessary for you in your business right now. I know that some of us, especially in those early stage startups, we can't even fathom taking 3 months off, but we can start to build that muscle early on and not let our business creep into our life so much so that we pick our head up 6 months, 10 years later, and we wonder, why did we just ignore our personal health? Why did we ignore our personal relationships? I think becoming a leader inside of your company and leading lots of folks really depends on oftentimes our personal health, our mental health, how clearly we feel, how passionately we feel. That pours into our people so wholeheartedly, our clients, our teammates, our partners, if we're looking for any sort of growth in the company. So I find that sabbatical is both the cadence of rest and the preparation for larger stints of really getting above your business and looking at what that next step is.
So okay, I hear you. But a lot of times the reason why people work so hard in businesses is because they're not properly capitalized. They don't have any staff. They are an army of one. So what is your advice for this person when in fact, that's 80% of the small businesses out here are solopreneurs working out of the back bedroom of their house. So how does this sabbatical method work if you're that person?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I think oftentimes we think that just because we are solo, it means that we don't have access to help. And that's a super dangerous place to come from, because then emotionally, physically, mentally, we think that everything rests on our shoulders. Our business success rests on our shoulders. And though in many ways it does, there are so many ways to have collaborators inside of our business. So that's number one, is recognizing that you're not alone. There are coaches, there are mentors, there are communities like these where you can come in, you can get some support. support, and even pouring into your business in this way and setting aside some time to learn, to educate, that is a form of rest, in my opinion, right? Really getting out of the weeds of your company and figuring out, okay, I'm going to just download this information, or I'm going to go be still with myself for a second to know what the next best step is for me. So I always say for my solopreneurs, do not let your business creep beyond the lines of your calendar. And what that means is if you are really supportive and structuring your day to close your computer at 5 or not check your email over the weekends, you will not create a business that actually needs more of your time than it's supposed to need. And I think that's one of the reasons why we get so hung up in those early stage years where we're maybe solo or we have a handful of contractors supporting us, kind of part-time. And then we work 80 hours a week and then we never stop working 80 hours a week. So if we get to a certain point and we can start to exercise that muscle of saying, no, actually, it can wait until tomorrow. It'll show our families that they mean the world to us. It'll show ourselves, right? We can share, our wins with our family and our friends. We can focus on our mental health, our physical health, all of those things. And it will end up creating a better business in the long run because nobody wants to build a business that just saturates all of their time. They want to be able to enjoy some of the things that they're creating and some of the difference that they're making with their companies.
I don't think anyone intends to build a business like that. Let me just say that. But how do boundaries and self-discipline play a role in creating, more balance for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, boundaries are absolutely huge. And, I actually learned this mostly by becoming a mom. Truly is just communicating with folks not only what is not for you, but also what is and what you need help with. So I think it's actually kind of a double-edged sword here, or almost a balancing act, if you will. Just as much as you need to determine, okay, this is my boundary, I'm not going to work past 5. You also can just say, hey, listen, the things that I am going to do in this time are X, Y, and Z, and I need help in the Z area. So I think oftentimes business owners, because there's so many ways we can grow our company, because there's so many different things we can do, we often get a proverbial shiny object syndrome. And so we try to chase every single thing at one time. And that's what contributes to this overworked and 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week. And so if we can actually set up those boundaries, it does make our plate proverbially smaller. And so only the things that are for us can get on that plate. If you're in a position where you're trying to market the heck out of your business and you're doing every single thing possible to market, but you're not doing just one well, imagine if you created the boundary to shut your computer at 5 and not work the weekends, and you created the boundary and you said, okay, what's the best thing we're doing in our marketing right now? And that was the only thing that was able to stay on your plate. You could 10x the outcome of that by just focusing on one thing. And I personally believe rest and sabbatical create the forcing function for that. They force us to determine what is most important, what are we actually getting the most return on investment from with our time, with our capital, whatever that looks like, and really, really, again, refine and define how we operate.
How does prioritizing rest, how can you incorporate rest into your work schedule, right? Because I don't know about you, there is a just never ending to-do list of things that need my attention. And I do have a big team that work for me. So, I'm just trying, I've been in business for 25 years. So I find what you're saying interesting. I mean, I am a, professional single mom. I was divorced when my son was 4. So I'm not sure all the things you're talking about are relational to me because I didn't have any backup. I had to make dinner. I had to, fill out all the permission slips and help with homework. And after I put that little boy to bed, who is now 18, I had to work some more before I went to bed. So I don't know if what you're talking about really works for a 2-parent household or, these single moms out here running these businesses. Is all this stuff working for them too?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. And I appreciate you sharing your perspective because there are a lot of single parents out there who are also running companies. And I think the traditional 9 to 5 is what I've been referencing, right, in terms of creating boundaries. But I work all the time with moms who want to take maternity leaves from their companies, and they redefine what it looks like to work and work a normal schedule all the time. So, for example, if you're in a position where you're the primary caregiver for your kids and you need to find those pockets of time to work, it's actually almost as important, if not more, for single parents or folks with many, many different responsibilities in their personal lives to get super focused on exactly what they need to be doing in those times. And I find that motherhood, maybe even, all the things that we are in our personal lives are forcing functions for getting really defined and really refined in what we're doing inside of our companies. So yes, it can absolutely work for single parents. It can work with folks who are even doing this part-time, because imagine you have, a full-time job and you're working to build your business in the evenings, and you have, let's just say, 2 or 3 hours in the evenings dedicated to building your company. We need to be really, really specific about what that is and what exactly you're getting done, because what we don't want to do is have 3 hours turn into 6, and then all of a sudden you're falling asleep in your cereal in the morning and you can't do your day job. So we don't want this to creep into some of the other areas of our life. So boundaries, like you were saying just before, Melinda, super, super important here. And I find that we have to make sure we keep the main things the main things.
Love it. When we come right back on the Small Biz Chat podcast, we're going to talk more with Alyson Caffrey about how rest can be your secret weapon in your small business. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey y'all, I'm launching my very first private online community for women entrepreneurs. We're calling it SmallBizLadyAcademy.com. And listen, we're going to be providing how-tos, video training, live coaching, webinars. We're going to do monthly member roundtables, and you're going to get an amazing resource library of all of my favorite ebooks and templates. So listen, whether you're ready to start or you're trying to grow your business so you can sell it one day, we're going to have exclusive content just for you. And all of our content is going to be available in English and Spanish. So I want you to jump on it today, because we got a founder rate out here. It's going to be your rate for life. So all you have to do is head over to SmallBizLadyAcademy.com, where we're empowering women entrepreneurs with knowledge, community, and access.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host. And we're talking with author Alyson Caffrey with the new book, The Sabbatical Method, How to Leverage Rest and Grow Your Business. All right, Alyson, really quickly, tell me, how can we help entrepreneurs overcome guilt or feelings of inadequacy associated with taking time off and prioritizing self-care?
Yeah, this is a huge one, Melinda. I mean, all of us feel really bad saying no, I think. And especially, I think women suffer from this particularly horribly, that we feel bad letting people down. We feel bad saying no. And it feels like we tie up our self-worth in however much we're working in our business. And I often find that people wear this like a badge of honor. And I remember when I had my first son, Frank, we were sitting in the hospital, and my husband takes this photo of me and my newborn son. And in the next frame, the one he didn't capture, I set him aside of me in the hospital, and I picked up my phone and I started answering Slack messages and emails from my clients and my team. And at that moment, I was like, oh, look how dedicated I am to my business. I'm working all the time. I can work from anywhere. But in the back of my mind, I knew that I had just chosen. I had created a priority of my business over my baby. And I knew that that was never going to happen again, and that I was committed to making sure that I had the systems in place, the clarity in place for my team. So that is the very first thing. If you're starting to feel guilt, not answering those emails, not being available for clients, start to ask yourself the question, have you clearly created those boundaries for the people who are communicating with you? Have you clearly stated, hey, listen, I'm not going to be responding to emails at this time, and I will absolutely address your questions at X, Y, or Z time? That boundary, first and foremost, would be excellent. Second is to pour into your people. So if you do have a team that supports you, if you do have a book of clients that really need your support, tell them what to do, how to be successful, support them with things that necessarily don't mean your time, right? You can still support your people. You can still give them great guidance via partners, via contractors, via anybody that you can. I remember the other day I was approached by somebody who really needed some operational support. I was full, so I have a wonderful partner that I sent them over to, and it was such an incredible relationship. They're having an amazing time. So my opinion is, don't feel bad taking time off. People will understand. Almost every entrepreneur I've worked with who is taking a maternity leave, they're always afraid to tell their clients and their team that they're pregnant. They're always afraid to leave the business because they feel bad. And I always tell them, I've never worked with anybody who's ever made an announcement like that and someone has come back and said, how dare you? So tell them you're a human being, and tell them that you're going to take time off, and just be honest about what this means for the company and what it means for you as a human being.
Good advice. Good advice. All right. What's the best business advice you've ever gotten?
Take care of yourself first. I love this because it weaves from business into family, which is totally my MO, is that I believe I am a better owner to my business when I have a clear head, when I am in shape, when my belly is full, I get a little hangry, and when I have a moment to actually pour into myself as an individual. And I think the same is true for motherhood. I think oftentimes moms feel so guilty. They always are, excited to put their kids first and buy their kids the new outfits instead of focusing on them and nurturing them and then pouring from overflow into our families and into our friends and into our personal relationships. So take care of you first. It is not selfish. It is absolutely selfless to make sure that you pour into others.
Love it. Thank you so much, Alyson. And when we come right back, we're going to talk about how to get media in your local community. You're watching the Small Biz Chat podcast, and we'll be right back.
Are you ready to turn your dreams of entrepreneurship into a reality? Hi, I'm Melinda Emerson, the Small Biz Lady, and I want to invite you to check out smallbizladyacademy.com. We're here to help you every step of the way with our comprehensive training programs and expert resources. You'll learn how to start and grow a successful business that aligns with your passions and your goals. From business systems to sales strategies, we cover it all. Plus, our supportive community of fellow women business owners is here to cheer you on and provide guidance when you need it. Don't wait any longer to pursue your dreams. Join smallbizladyacademy.com today. We build businesses, and we help you build the life you've always wanted.
Hi there. Welcome back to the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host, America's #1 small business expert. And now it's time for me to introduce my guest, Mickie Kennedy. Mickie is here to talk to us about all things media. He is the founder and president of eReleases, the small business leader for press release distribution, now celebrating 25 years in business. He's an expert in helping small businesses increase their visibility and credibility. He's created eReleases to give small businesses access to the media and a national newswire, all with a personal touch. He also writes for PR Fuel Blog and giving out PR and public relations topic advice. For more information, head over to eReleases.com. Mickie, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast. Tell me how you learned so much about local media.
Great. So over the years, I have worked with my clients and what their needs are. I'm really good at national media attention through our service, but when it came to local media, I realized that my clients did not need me. This is really something that I think most people can do themselves. And to break it down, if you think about it, even if you're in a really good metro area, there's probably less than a dozen people who would cover you. And, that includes TV, radio, newspapers, both dailies and maybe some weeklies, metro type papers and things like that. So really, we're talking about you have to do a little bit of research and build a Rolodex of like a dozen people. And, I think for a lot of people, it can be sort of daunting approaching the media and asking for an email address if you don't find one on the website or on Twitter or different places like that. But it really is as easy as just picking up the phone, calling the newspaper and saying, hey, I have a news tip I'd like to provide to this person. Can I get their email address? They'll either give it to you or forward you along to that person and just ask for their email address. With that Rolodex, if you're lucky enough to have a business magazine or business newspaper in your area, find out who would be the logical person who would cover your industry, who writes about you, and do the same thing. Ask for their email address. When it comes to TV and radio, it's a little bit different. You're going to keep an ear out. You're going to talk to others. Have you ever seen, spotlights or radio shows that talk about companies? And what those segments are. A lot of times they're Saturday, Sundays, or late evening, and they'll do a spotlight on a local business. And what you're looking for there is the producer or booker of that segment. And again, just picking up the phone and calling is all it takes. Remember, these aren't celebrities. These are members of your local media. They should be approachable. They should be willing to give you an email address, and they should be able to, to talk to. And what you're going to do is you don't need a press release. You're just going to send a little pitch to them. As you have an idea, you're going to send a few sentences about yourself. If there's something trending in your industry and you would be a good local example of that, just tell them that in there. I do sometimes like to, put the pill and the cheese with a really great quote, where you spend a really good time saying one or two sentences really succinctly and build that into a quote. Because, if a journalist gets a fairly good lead and there's an amazing quote, they just like can envision an article all around that. So I do think that sometimes having a very well prepared quote in your pitch can really go a long ways. But it's just a matter of that, just naturally networking with these people over time. If you do the work, you may find that, for 6 to 8 months, nothing happens. And maybe you're doing it every other month. But over time, you will see that you will get pickup. And sometimes you'll have them circle back to you. They'll be working on a story. They'll remember that you're in that industry, and they'll go and they'll pull up their email and they'll reach out to you and say, hey, I know you pitched me a few times in the past, but now I'm working on a story I feel like would be right up your alley. Could I get a quote or some insights from you as a local business? And it just happens as naturally as that. It is one of those things that I think if you put a good year and a half of nurturing this relationship along and pitching, you'll find that the second year is going to become much easier to get coverage. And over time, it just happens again and again. I follow the Baltimore Sun here in the Baltimore Metro, and it's the same companies that generally get recycled in articles. So if they're talking about work from home issues or things like that, they start transitioning to mentioning this company and getting a quote from them. And, it's not because they're advertisers, it's because they have a relationship and they're just easy to reach out to, and they know that they can count on them every time they're writing about a topic that they would be a good fit for.
I want to go back to crafting that pitch, because I used to be a television producer. I used to get those pitches and there was a lot of really bad ones, Mickie. All right. So I want you to give me sort of like your ABC, what needs to go in this pitch so that we make it super simple for people to, pitch their local news channel or, their local newspaper.
Right. So, one of the things you have to keep in mind is that journalists, by and large, care about their audience, and they want to either educate or entertain that audience, sometimes delight them. And so your message is, I want to sell product. And so you have to make them align. And sometimes you have to reverse engineer what it is that you're announcing in a way that is going to make that journalist feel like, wow, this is something that's interesting and I would want to share with my audience. And so maybe you have a new product launch. They're usually not very sexy. It's usually, here's a product and here's a list of features. But maybe if you have a use case study of a local business and say, hey, I'm a company, we provide logistics software in the metro area, and we've had really amazing results with a local client. And, this was their numbers going in. They've used the product. Here's their result. And, have a quote by them as well. And again, it's just a few sentences. You don't have to build it out to an entire press release, but a journalist can look at that and say, I can build that into a story arc. And journalists do love the story arc because, we naturally, since we've been sitting around fires, have always told stories in a climax and going down sort of story cycle. And if you can give them the elements to build a story, it naturally comes together in their mind, and they can envision it, and they know that story would probably relate to their audience. And so I think that having those little nuggets and those little things work really well. Sometimes also telling your story. You're a local business, you say, but tell us how it came to be. What's your journey? There's a reason that everybody that appears on Shark Tank, one of the first things they talk about is their journey. Why they started this product. Sometimes it's inspirational. Sometimes they talk about an obstacle they overcame, like there was a health issue. They had to, leave corporate America for a bit, but they had this hobby. All of these little things. And it's because it's a human interest element, and those are things that draw us in and make us want to care. Because we don't naturally care about logos or products, but we care about other people, and we're naturally empathetic, and we want to relate to them. So getting those sort of things in there as appropriate. And it really is a matter of just paying attention. I think one of the things is if you're ever at conferences or other places and you meet other businesses like yours, and they're local business in their markets, and you feel like they really know what they're doing from a marketing standpoint, set up Google alerts for these people in other markets, and as they get media attention, see if you could craft something similar for your local media. Don't ever tell them, hey, I saw this person in Greenville, South Carolina get picked up here. Could we do something similar here? That's not going to go very well. But maybe you could say, hey, I've noticed people in the industry talking about this, and I feel my business would be a really great example. And here's why. And here again is an amazing quote. And again, to tell you a little bit about myself, I started this business because I hated my dad and he wanted me to be a doctor. And I wanted to do, window installations or something like that. And just a little thing to sort of get them to know you or something about you, and sort of pitch that. And again, just sort of do this on a regular basis. And you will be surprised, how at first, how it feels like you're just throwing stuff out there and nothing's happening. But after like 6 months to a year, it starts to develop, and you find that they will respond. And sometimes they'll reply and ask a few more questions and it goes nowhere. But sometimes they will take it and run with it. And generally, I find that once you have that momentum, it just gets easier.
I love it. I love it. Last question. So what are some of the common mistakes people make when pitching, though?
I think one of the common mistakes people make is they kind of try to appear too corporate. I think small businesses sort of want to prove themselves that they're like the big guys. And to be honest, journalists recognize the big companies can afford to advertise, and they love to put the spotlight on small businesses and entrepreneurs and mom and pops. Very few journalists get accolades for, talking about the latest Microsoft Office update. But, if it's a local tool or a small tool from a mom and pop, they know that they will get recognized from their audience, because it makes them seem like they're curators and they've discovered this little thing. And so for that reason, don't necessarily feel that you have to appear overly corporate. And sometimes being small and owning your smallness is a real value and something that works with media.
Love it. Love it. All right. Last question. What is the best business advice that you've ever received?
Measure as much as you can in your business, and always try to be able to A/B split different elements in your business.
So measure and test, in other words, measure and test, right?
Exactly.
All right. Love it. Thank you so much, Mickie. I really enjoyed hearing all of your wise tidbits and advice. And as a former media person, I think you gave some good advice as well. What I want to do now is pull back our other two guests, Miss Lisha Bell and Alyson Caffrey. And now we're going to have a quick panel that I like to call Hit It and Quit It. Okay. And this is the reason why we call it this. Okay. I'm going to ask one question to each of you. You only have 30 seconds to answer it, and you cannot repeat somebody else's answer. If somebody takes your answer, you better come up with something else. Otherwise, you're going to get the cowbell. I don't want to give you all that. So we're going to start with you, Lisha, because you've been waiting the longest. Then we're going to go to you, Alyson, and then we're going to come to you, Mickie, first. So the very first question, this is an easy one. What is your favorite podcast? Lisha Bell, what is your favorite podcast?
My very own Sisters with Ventures. It's everywhere. Please follow, like, and listen, subscribe. Thank you. Check it out.
I can co-sign that. Sisters with Ventures is fabulous. It's absolutely worth a listen. Okay, Alyson, what is your favorite podcast?
I like Goal Digger with Jenna Kutcher. She is a fantastic, fantastic leader, both in the home and in her business. And honestly, I'm super inspired when I listen to a lot of her episodes.
I like her podcast as well. I've heard several episodes of it. All right, Mickie, what's your favorite podcast?
I'm going to go with the $100 MBA show. It's all about bootstrapping and trying to make do often early in that entrepreneurial journey.
Love it, love it. That's a good one. I love that book, so I'm sure that podcast is good. All right, next question. Alyson, I'm coming to you first this time, then you, Mickie, then you, Lisha. All right, what is your favorite business app? Favorite business app that you use the most, either on your computer or on your phone?
This is a tough one. I actually really like loom.com. It's on a Chrome extension. You can add it and you can record your screen and show anybody all over what you're doing, how you want something done. I personally love it as my number one delegation tool in my company.
Love it, love it. All right, Mickie, what you got?
Dropbox. I am often in the middle of dinner or someplace and somebody wants something and I'm like, how do I get this to them? And it's always Dropbox, creating a share link and sending that along.
I'm a Dropbox girl too. All right, Lisha, what's your favorite business app?
I'm kind of biased, but I'm going with my Wells Fargo banking app. I'm always on my money every day. Every minute, I'm checking those finances.
Your banking app is your favorite app. Okay.
Yes.
No shade. No shade. All right. Good stuff. Next question. This time I'm coming to you, Mickie, first, then you, Lisha, and then Alyson. What is your favorite old school marketing tip? Favorite old school marketing tip?
I think for me is to communicate with your clients and leads. Email is something that still works. Newsletters still work, and you can also start using stuff like text messages and things like that. But I think that a lot of people think that it's all social media, and they forget email at times.
Love it, love it. I agree. Lisha, what you got?
Well, I had to go back and print business cards. Like I stopped printing business cards, and I was like, oh, actually, we still need these. Like it's a very viable option, and it works, and it does the job. Sorry about the paper, but like business cards are still a thing. So
I'm with you. I co-sign that completely. Alyson, what's your favorite old school marketing tip?
Okay, I'm gonna go super old school and basic, and that's just smiling. I'm not joking. I just read How to Win Friends and Influence People again, and he had a whole chapter on smiling. And I was like, yeah, we don't smile at random people and the folks that we're working with enough. So smile.
I like it. I like it. I'll take that. I'll take that. All right, here's the last question. And Lisha, I'm coming to you first, and then you, Alyson, and then you, Mickie. What is the best business book you have ever read? Best business book you've ever read?
yeah, I think it's between Think and Grow Rich or Rich Dad Poor Dad. Kind of find similar, two similar ideals, but mindset, money mindset.
But both are good choices. Very, very good choices. All right, Alyson, what's your best favorite business book you've ever read?
Yeah, one that sticks out to me right now is called The Motivation Myth by Jeff Hayden. And he talks about waiting for inspiration versus just getting started and creating your own momentum. And I personally love that, especially for early stage business owners.
Love it. All right, Mickie, what about you?
I had mentioned about testing everything and A/B split testing, and the perfect companion to that is the 80/20 Sales and Marketing book by Perry Marshall. It helps you hone in on what's working in your business and cutting out the stuff that isn't, so that you can scale and provide a better experience for your customers.
I love it. That's a great book. That's an oldie but goodie. And my favorite book is actually 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan. That's my favorite book. I read a lot of them, but that's the one I've been holding on to the longest. Thank you guys so much for being here on this special edition of the Small Biz Chat podcast in honor of National Small Business Week. This was a great show. Please thank my guests, Lisha Bell, host of the Sister with Voices podcast. Please check out her podcast. Thank you to Alyson Caffrey, author of the new book, The Sabbatical Method. Please go and grab her book. And thank you so much, Mickie Kennedy, CEO of eReleases. You can get more information from eReleases.com. And thank you all for joining me for this episode of the Small Biz Chat podcast. Today's show is sponsored by Small Biz Lady Academy, our brand new monthly membership group for women entrepreneurs looking to start and grow. If you want to have the opportunity to be coached by me and you don't think you afford it, well, now you can, because I'm going to be coaching people on my own platform. And we're doing a founders launch in June. So if you want to get in on it early, all you have to do is go over to smallbizladyuniversity.com/academy. Check out my landing page, check out my FAQs, look at what I'm going to be offering. And I'm so excited because we're going to be offering this information in English and Spanish because we have a global audience at Team Small Biz Lady. So I just want to give you guys a sneak peek of what's going to be coming. Right now, we're offering a founder's rate, but y'all know it's going to go up. So jump in on it now. We're so excited, and we're going to officially launch at the top of June. Now, I want to leave you with this. You never lose in business. Either you win or you learn. God bless everybody.